So what did you think of the story and the questions? Maybe you thought, a bit weird. Or maybe you thought, pretty cool. Or maybe you thought, a bit of both. I mean, it is quite a strange story. Actually, even Jesus' followers, his disciples, they never really saw him like this before. They saw him normally as a human being, but on that day, they saw the light of God shining around him. His three closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, they get to see that, yes, Jesus is God. Jesus is God's Son. So, yeah, pretty cool. But why did God do this at this particular point? Well, if you got your Bible out and had a look at what was going on just before this, you might have seen that Jesus had been talking to his disciples and he said something really important. He said, "Who do people say that I am?" And the disciples were like, "Well, some say Elijah, some say John the Baptist, some say one of the prophets." And Jesus said, "But who do you say I am?" And Peter said, "You're the Christ, you're the Messiah, you're God's Son." And Jesus went on at that point to tell them that he would die, that he would suffer and die and rise again. And that was pretty strange. In fact, Peter said, "No, Lord, this can't be." And Jesus had to kind of tell him off and say, "Look, no, this is how it has to be." So it's important here that God says, yes, this is my son. But what instructions did they get? Listen to him. They had to listen to what he'd been saying about the fact that he was going to suffer and die. See, they were all expecting that God's Son would be someone who would come and sort things out. And he was going to come and sort things out, but not by force. Jesus was going to die. He was going to show God's love for us. He would sort things out by giving his life so that we can be forgiven for all the wrongs that we've done. And so God says, listen to him. So today there's a couple of colouring sheets that you might like to print off and have a go at. Maybe you'd like to make a heart with Lego or make the mountain and have Jesus on the top. Whatever you do, as you're doing those things, think about God's love for you today. Think about God's light shining on us. And later on, there's a chance to pray, and you can print off some maps and take a highlighter. And as you look at the maps, as you think about the places, you might want to highlight those places and think of people you want to pray for or things you want to pray for in those places.